They really believe that, and I want to help them accomplish those things to the extent that I can. But the thing missing in most places is a patient investor that has enough credibility and successes that will cause other people to become patient investors as well and go through the rough spots, for they are many.
I'd like to come back to the question this gentleman asked initially about employment. You know, I think everyone in this room who is here today understands the value of redevelopment. But I think redevelopment is probably like a greyhound chasing the rabbit. You know what you have to do, but you really never finish the product. You never catch the rabbit. And by not being able, in my opinion, by not being able to show measurable results quickly, i.e. employment, that there's kind of soft support for projects. You know, we just went through this process with Parkview Field. Wonderful facility. Personally, I've only been here 3 years. I'm glad we did that. It's fabulous. We have a fabulous downtown. But to get Joe's six-pack, 10 miles up the road to really care about what happens, we have to be able to identify measurably the impact of redevelopment and what it means. Because otherwise, it's just a word that we never catch. We'll do a project, but how does that help us 2 years from now, or what's beyond that?
I would encourage you to think differently about Joe's six-pack and what it is that affects his thinking about such matters. Mostly, they're disengaged, feel dispossessed in some ways by all of this. It's irrelevant. I understand that. It's natural, it's every place, and it ever was us. But they're also usually not very persuaded by data. They're persuaded by a felt sense of success. I need data. You need data. Decision makers need to be guided by measurable results. But our success was when Joe Sixpack said, I live in a great town. It's a hell of a lot better place than I used to live in. And he may not even be able to name exactly the things that are there. But if we had continued to simply lose jobs, you better believe he doesn't live in a great town. So we have been able to replace jobs, and replace jobs at reasonably similar levels of compensation, at least as a whole. And if you can't do that, ultimately you do fail. That is not an easy thing to make happen. But if you do not have a spirit of confidence and attitude, optimism, and a rational basis for it, I think economies respond to that. Follow-up question?
Do that in the way that's follow-up question.
And by the way, you may think that's just bullshit. I mean, it's fine. That's my
But how important is governmental leadership, even though it may be a private enterprise? Because you're talking about largely about private enterprise. What role does the city council, what role does the mayor, the county commissioners play in the bully pulpit of passing at least opinion to the public that this is good for the community?
There's no simple answer to that. It changes from time to time. Different people play it different ways. We had one mayor for 14 years. He was mayor of one form of government. The court said you can't have that form of government again. He changed it and he got elected again. And he was an absolutely honest as the day is long. And I'm sure suffered from clinical depression. Because I do too, but I medicate myself. His best day was a day in which nothing happened. Nothing good happened, nothing bad happened. And yet, when the good things happened, he was happy to go and say, great, good thing happened here. You just didn't count on him to move the ball forward. But he was going to go with you down the field. Then within that 14 years, I would say the public consensus changed. He was exactly the mayor of Chattanooga wanted for those 14 years. He was dead right in having a government that was not activist, did just the basic services, put money away for a rainy day. He was just a really good steward. He was a conservative, amiable politician. Now, when he finished, the city elected a very dynamic young businessman who had a very assertive agenda, and he was a very popular mayor. You say, how can that be? Well, public attitudes change and their expectations of institutions change. Every time our community got a little bit better, we had a wave of people losing their jobs. I mean, you're the executive director of the Art Museum. The community has now stepped up what they expect of things. You did a great job before. You can't do it now. You can't do what is expected now. Same thing happens to elected officials. So it depends. But everybody ought to know, you gotta know, that those are the people who are elected by your community. And you've got to find a way to make things work with them, even if you have periods in which you just can't figure it out. Just can't figure it out. But that's part of our patience as well.
Much like the foundation of the renovation of Chattanooga is in front of the freshwater aquarium, there's been a lot of focus on media as well as the public about the potential of the casino coming to Fort Wayne, whether that happens or not. In your professional opinion, do you feel as if that is something that could be a cornerstone for the revitalization of the Fort Wayne downtown business and residential communities?
Well, first of all, I tell you, I won't touch that because I know that it's an issue about which people have strong and differing opinions. What I would say is that before you decide, you need to think about why that would be good or why it would not be good for you. What is it you expect it to bring? If all you're expecting is a revenue stream from it, that may not be enough reason for it. If it's also actually going to be a quality development that will generate traffic and so forth, that might be an additional good reason for it. If it's going to make you seem like a desperate city that will take almost anything, which is the kind of city we used to be, any developer could come in and do anything they wanted to Chattanooga. Do it to me, or do it. And we've gotten to where we said, well, actually we have taste about what we want done with us. So I don't know how a casino feels to you. I don't know if it feels like an act of desperation or a dynamic new opportunity. You got to figure that out. And you probably won't always agree. But I would tell you my professional opinion, which is really just a personal opinion based on Chattanooga, it wouldn't be a good thing for Chattanooga. Given the character of the place that we have developed, it's inconsistent. In our minds, gambling is not, for us, meet the bar of what image we're trying to project to the world and what kind of life we're trying to live for ourselves. And it's not a moral objection to gambling. It's just, it isn't, for us, it would be, that's a lower level kind of an interest that people have. And we don't necessarily want to appeal to that. But it might not be that for another place. It might function in your mind and for your community in a very different way. So I dare not speak for that. Let's see, I think you made that hand up first.
Yes. Raising $45 million was a remarkable feat. It's hard to imagine this community raising that much money for a single cultural amenity. Can you talk about how that campaign was run, what made it successful, and also, were you successful in bringing new donors to the table through that campaign? There's a lot of wealth in this community.